Welcome friends. Today I discuss about an interesting plant physiological event that is known as ascent of sap. The movement of sap through the xylem vessels from the root to the leaves of a plant is known as ascent of sap. Here is a diagram that shows the ascent of sap. Ascent of sap occurs due to osmosis, root pressure, adhesion and cohesion force, capillary action and transpiration pull. And in another diagram, it shows the demonstration of water pull due to evaporation and transpiration. Let us discuss about water conducting tissue in plant. Xylem is water conducting tissue of the plant. Here some experimental evidence. The following experiments prove that xylem is water conducting tissue of the plant. The first experiment is griddling or ringing experiment that was made by Malpighi, Hartig and Stephen Hales. Here, xylem is removed by careful manipulation without causing much injury to the bark. The leaves will wilt because there is no conduction of water due to absence of xylem elements. Here is a diagram that shows demonstration of ascent of sap through xylem vessels. Let us discuss about the second test that is known as Eosin test experiment. By using Eosin dye on the leafy shoot of balsam plant and found that xylem is water conducting tissue. The third experiment is Blockage Experiment that was made by Dixon and Jolly. Here two small shoots of a woody plant are taken. Their cut ends are so prepared that in one shoot phloem is blocked with wax while in other shoot xylem is blocked with wax. Now the cut ends are submerged in water. After some time the shoot with its xylem blocked shows wilting, but the shoot with its phloem blocked remains unaffected. Here is a diagram that shows Eosin dye experiment in balsam plant. In cross section of balsam stem after experiment, it shows the xylem element with Eosin dye. Let us discuss about ascent of sap and its mechanism. Upward movement of absorbed water through xylem against the gravitational force up to top parts of plants is called ascent of sap. Various theories are given to explain the mechanism of ascent of sap. The first theory is vital force theory. According to vital force theories, living cells are responsible for ascent of sap. The first proponent was Westermeyer in 1883. According to him, ascent of sap is due to the activity of xylem parenchyma cells. The second theory was relay pump theory or clambering hypothesis that was done by Godlewski in 1884. According to this theory, the ascent of sap is due to rhythmic change of osmotic pressure of the living cells of xylem parenchyma and medullary rays. Here is a diagram that shows the water movement from higher osmotic pressure area to lower osmotic pressure area via parenchyma cells by air pressure. Let us discuss about the third theory, that is known as pulsation theory, that was done by Sir J.C. Bose. Here the ascent of sap or water is due to pump-like activity of living cells found among the dead xylem elements and also due to pulsatory activity of the innermost layer of cortex. Bose designed an apparatus called dendrometer and demonstrated the rhythmic expansion and contraction of cells in the stem. Bose explained his theory with the help of galvanometer or electric probe. He experimented on Indian telegraph plant that is known as desmodium gyrans. An objection was made by Strauss-Berger. According to the objection, ascent of sap continues after the living cells of xylem are killed by poison picric acid. It means ascent of sap is through the non-living elements of xylem, that means vessels or tracheids. Here is a diagram that shows electric probe apparatus that was made by J.C. Bose. Let us discuss about the second important theory, that is known as root pressure theory. This theory was done by Priestley. The cumulative pressure generated by all the root hairs is known as root pressure. The term root pressure was coined by Stephen Hales. The value of root pressure is only 2 atmosphere, but it may vary up to 4 to 6 atmosphere. So a positive pressure is developed in xylem sap due to turgidity or activity of root which pushes water upwards through the xylem, and the positive pressure is nothing but root pressure. Here some objections against this theory. The first objection is root pressure is absent in woody plants. The second objection is when root pressure is high during night, then ascent of sap is low. And the third one is root pressure can only raise water to a height of 10 to 15 feet and thus cannot explain ascent of sap in tall plants. Here is a diagram that shows the demonstration of root pressure. Here, rubber connector is used on the cut end of stem and a pressure is developed that is measured by manometer by the movement of mercury. Let us discuss about the third important theory, that is physical force theory. The first important physical force theory is capillary force theory. This theory only explains how the water molecules are only held together by capillary tension but does not explain its upward translocation. Here vessels and tracheids act as capillaries and ascent of sap takes place due to capillary force. The second important physical force theory is atmospheric force theory. The superincumbent pressure with a value of 76 centimeter of mercury can only explain the ascent of sap in lower plants but not in big trees. And the third important physical force theory is imbibitional force theory. According to it, ascent of sap is due to the imbibition force of xylem wall. Imbibition can only explain the adherence of water molecule to the colloidal substances of plant cell. In no way it can explain the ascent of sap. Here is a diagram that shows water moves between tracheids only through pits, and in another diagram there is shows water movement from one vessel element to the next through perforations and pits. Let us discuss about the fourth important physical force theory is chain theory. According to it, a chain of alternate layers of water and air are formed in xylem. When layer of air expands, then water will move upwards. The fifth important physical force theory is cohesive and adhesive force and transpiration pull theory. This universally accepted theory was proposed by Dickson and Joly, but in later the theory was expanded and modified by Curtis and Clark. According to it, three components are involved in ascent of sap. The first one is cohesion and cohesive force. Mutual attraction between the water molecule is known as cohesion, which forms a continuous water column in xylem elements. Cohesive force is the result of hydrogen bond existing between the water molecules that create a narrow column. Here is a diagram that shows hydrogen bonds between water molecules, and in another diagram there is shown cohesion force due to hydrogen bonding between water molecules. And in another diagram also there is represented that cohesion between water molecule and adhesion between xylem shell wall and water molecule. Let us discuss about the second point, that is adhesion and adhesive force. The pressure with which the water molecules adhere to the hydrophilic water of the xylem element is the adhesive force. Attraction between xylem walls and water molecules is due to adhesion force, which helps in maintenance of water column of xylem. The third one is transpiration pull. Let us discuss about the development of transpiration pull. The negative pressure in the atmosphere at 50% relative humidity is around 1000 bars, which generates a steep diffusion pressure deficit gradient. It acts as a powerful force for the rapid movement of water from the leaves into the atmosphere. Here is a diagram that shows the adhesion force between the two steel plates that is held together by thin water film. And in another diagram, there is shown adhesion by hydrogen bonding between the water molecule and cell wall. Let us discuss about the transpiration pool. Such outward movement of water from millions of stomata into the atmosphere creates a kind of unidirectional pool called transpiration pool or suction pressure. But the same water column is also subjected to another opposing force called gravitational pull. Due to tension that is created by two forces like transpiration pull and gravitational pull, the water column becomes narrow. When such fine water columns are subjected to a transpiration pull from one end and a gravitational force at the other end, the water column is likely to snap, but because of the cohesive and adhesive forces, they remain intact. Let us discuss about the direction of water movement. As the transpiration pull is greater than its counter force, so water is pulled upwards. The transpiration pull of one atmospheric pressure can pull the water up to 15 to 20 feet in height. Here is a diagram that shows transpiration pull that is created by osmotic pressure. Let us discuss about the direction of water movement. The tallest plants, about 400 feet in height, require the forces about 40 atmosphere or 40 bars. Even a herbaceous plant like tomato or helianthus species develops a transpiration pool to the extent of 100 to 200 atmospheric pressure, which is more than enough to pull the water to the height of 1000 to 2000 feet. Let us conclude that a tension or negative pressure develops in xylem due to rapid transpiration in leaves because of high diffusion pressure deficit. This creates a transpiration pool which is responsible for the pulling up of water column in xylem. So ascent of sap is constitutive effect of cohesion, adhesion and transpiration pool. Here is a diagram that shows transpiration pool that is tension and ascent of sap. Ascent of sap involves the water moving towards leaves in upward direction and transpiration pool involves the water moving towards root in downward direction. Transpiration pool develops due to transpiration in leaves. Let us discuss about the evidences in support of transpiration pool theory. The first one is transpiration pool developed in the aerial regions at 50% relative humidity in the air is more than 1000 bars. The second one is cohesive force that holds the water molecules in a column as narrow as xylem vessels is very strong and they withstand the opposing transpiration and gravitational pulls. The third one is because of the opposing forces, a tension develops in the water column and as a result, xylem elements become slightly narrow. This results in the contraction and expansion of the stem, which can be demonstrated by using a dendrometer. The fourth one is the forces that operate cohesion transpiration pool are just passive forces and there is no metabolic energy involved. Here is a diagram that shows method of measuring the cohesive force of water utilizing a jet centrifuge tube, and in another diagram demonstration of tensile strength of xylem sap is shown.